What is going on, guys? So today I'm going to talk about what nobody that's trying to recruit you into the military is going to tell you. So I actually came up with this video topic idea because I was researching and thinking about and writing down notes and stuff on another video that I'm going to cover in the future, which is going to be the best jobs in the Army. I've not ever really talked about that before, the best jobs, because I really do think that it in large part is going to depend on who you are, the person you are, but I'm going to try to kind of navigate that and make a video on that. But whenever I was thinking about this and talking about this stuff, there's a lot of cool jobs in the military, but in some cases you're going to get sucked in to doing these jobs, and you're going to get recruited into doing this job because you're going to get to do all of these different things. But what they won't tell you is, in at least some part, a lie. So, believe it or not, a huge reason why the United States Army is successful is not because of the soldiers in the military doing their job. It's actually civilians helping the military do their job, because there might be a piece of equipment, but a soldier is trained on that equipment, but they have really no clue how to use it. They don't know the ins and outs of that equipment. They don't know how to troubleshoot that equipment. So what happens is, if something happens and goes wrong, then the civilian comes and they fix it. Or there's a whole bunch of other situations where we can kind of throw that same scenario. If something breaks, a lot of times it's not the actual soldiers that's fixing it. It's the soldiers being like, oh, this is broken, I don't know how to fix this, I'm gonna send this to somebody else, probably a civilian. They're gonna fix it and then send it back. So a lot of people will be kind of sucked into this idea of, oh, I can get to manage this satellite equipment, or I get to work on these vehicles and deal with these kind of missile systems and things like that. But what they don't realize is, in a lot of situations, like, you're not going to be doing as much as you think you're going to be doing, at least right out the gate after AIT, because it's really complicated and you're not going to know everything that there is to know. And there's just always these civilian contractors, people that the military hires to act, that are basically experts on the equipment. Either they worked at that company, or maybe they were in the military for, their 20 years, and it's like, finally, after 20 years of working with this set of equipment, they know how to use it. But it's like, well, they're retiring. So now they retire, now they're a civilian, and then they're hired back by the military to work on the same thing, but they're making a whole lot more. That happens very, very frequently in the military. So the military has a lot of different complex, really cool, really fancy, really high-tech equipment, but it's really cool and it's just really high-tech and it's just really complicated, and it's going to take you a long time to actually learn how to operate that equipment, because there's so much. You may get a training, you may go to a school to learn something for, it could be like a month-long training to learn one specific equipment, but then whenever you actually get back, you don't mess with that equipment for a year, several months, a couple of years, and then whenever it comes back, you're like, I kind of remember how to do that, but not really. And so what happens is, to kind of fulfill the fantasy or expectation that you had to be able to do the things that you wanted to do, you're kind of going to have to be in the military for a lot longer than your first contract to actually be able to work on this equipment over and over and over again, working on this various different equipment over and over and over again. And then by the time you're an expert on it, it's time for you to retire. And I just want to note here that it's not always just the lack of experience where you can't work on something, or you can't do something in the system. You can't go online on this website and request something that you need because you know how to do it. It's not just the lack of experience. A lot of times it's kind of just like the Army kind of standing in your way and be like, oh, nope, you don't have this little tiny piece of thing. You don't have this one little authorized thing. You can't do that for whatever reason. There's this thing in the signal world where a lot of times if you don't have the Security Plus certification, which a lot of people don't, it's not an easy certification to get. It's pretty difficult to get. And because of that, if you don't have Security Plus, you can't mess with a lot of things. You can't, as a signal soldier, you may be trained on something, but then whenever it becomes to the actual real life scenario, it's like, well, I'm not allowed to touch that because I don't have my Security Plus certification. Even though I may know how to do it, you can't do it. And then so a lot of times you just have your civilian contractor, they just come and they fix it, they do whatever. And whether you're stationed stateside and you're doing some training stuff, or even if you're deployed, it's still gonna be civilians kind of really holding and propping up the military, because they're kind of like the experts. There's always going to be some kind of civilian expert on an equipment that you think you should know how to do, or you should know how to work that equipment, but you don't. You went to a very small specific training that they just kind of push you through, and then it comes time to do it and you're like, well, I don't know how to do this, so this civilian over here, can you come and help me out a little bit? Now, as far as this being the way that the military operates, having a bunch of civilian contractors helping the military, that's not a bad thing. It's great to have the civilians as experts, but what people aren't really telling you with all this equipment, and they can't really tell you, it's kind of like an unknown thing, because they may say something and it could or could not be true. But basically, if you're expecting to go and do all this really cool fancy stuff, with the exception of like infantry, because if you're infantry, I mean, you're not gonna have somebody carry your weapon for you shooting. That's just not gonna happen. So with all the other MOSs, or most of the other MOSs, you know, this could be the case where you could expect to go and do all this really cool stuff, but nobody's gonna tell you, oh yeah, you need like several years of experience and XYZ certifications to do that. And even if you do that, you may only mess with it once in a blue moon. And once you find that out for yourself in the actual military, that can be really frustrating. Now, I know this may have sounded like a negative Army video. It's really not a negative Army video. I'm just having you guys kind of correct your expectations a little bit, because there's a lot of cool things that you can do if you want to, you know, for example, like I talked about before, get your Security Plus certification, get the other certification that you want, and go and get all the trainings that you need to get done to work on the equipment. Then that's your prerogative. You can do that. If you work hard, then you can get those things done. And then if, you know, you're likely, if you retire out of the military and you really enjoy it, then odds are you could get rehired by the military making double or even triple what you were making before. And that's a pretty cool thing. Keep in mind that at the end of the day, a lot of this is on you. If you want to be an expert on some piece of equipment, there's probably going to be a path for you to do that. It's just that, you know, when you graduate AIT, you're not going to be an expert on XYZ, all these different things that you're going to learn about. And it's going to take several years possibly for you to have the capabilities to actually operate that at a professional level. If you guys enjoyed this video, hit that like button. That'd be awesome. If you want to stick around some more of my videos, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. That would be even better. Follow me on Instagram and Snapchat if you haven't already. Hope you guys have an amazing freaking day, and I'll see y'all later.